Welcome to TV, Tennessee Valley Church. This week we're near Athens on Wheeler Lake. My friends here said I could sit on their dock and fish. Jesus said to some fishermen, some real fishermen on the Sea of Galilee one day, "Follow me and I will make you fishers of men." Now, Jesus didn't mean that his followers would bait people and hook them and drag them fighting into the church and then display them like trophies. What Jesus meant was that his followers would be in the people business. Which brings me to the purpose of TV Tennessee Valley Church. TV Church was begun nearly 3 years ago as an effort to offer hope, spiritual direction, even an extended family, especially to people who were in an in-between space, an in-between kind of spiritual space. Some of you are interested in Jesus, but not yet ready to engage in a church. In between. Maybe you've never been involved in a church and you're not sure how it all works, so you're uncomfortable when you think of walking cold into a church building. Or maybe you once were involved in a church, but you were hurt by or angered by the church. For whatever reason, you're in that in-between space, and we're delighted that you would join us here. TV Church really is for you. This Sunday at First Baptist Church of Huntsville, the church I serve as pastor, I'm going to be encouraging people to live intentionally toward people Jesus longs for. I'm going to be talking about intentionally getting out of our spiritual and social bubbles, about intentionally being kind, and about intentionally, not obnoxiously, having spiritual conversations with people who are not yet followers of Jesus. All with the ultimate motive, not ulterior motive, that people know and follow Jesus. Why would I talk about that? Why is it important for Jesus followers to know, love, and have intentional conversations with people who are not Jesus followers? For one thing, it's our responsibility and opportunity. Jesus mandated that his followers try to make other followers. It's a responsibility we have. But more than that, it's an opportunity. When someone has good news, he or she wants to share it. And we ought to want to share the good news of Jesus with people who don't yet know that news deep inside. And yet it's a bit unnerving for many of us to think about having spiritual conversations. We don't want to blow it and drive people away. We feel inadequate for conversations that carry such weight. And candidly, many of us don't want to be rejected, rebuffed. We don't want to be thought of as weird. So although it's our responsibility and opportunity, most followers of Jesus don't have as many faith conversations as we know we should. So it's our responsibility and opportunity. Furthermore, lots of people are seeking spiritual truth. Granted, they aren't exactly lining up at the doors of churches, but people are seeking. I saw this headline from October 5th, just about a month ago. In the Pope's homeland, more Argentinians are seeking spiritual answers beyond the church. That may be true here too. On October 9, Jen Huberty gave a talk which I watched titled, "How Gen Zennials," that's Generation Z and young millennials, "are using spirituality for mental health." This Gen Zennial spirituality is kind of like a gumbo, a mixture of religious expressions, Huberty said. No, they aren't exactly lining up at the doors of churches, but people are seeking. So it's our opportunity and responsibility as Jesus followers to have faith conversations, and people are seeking answers, so we want to provide answers. Furthermore, what people decide about Jesus matters. Curtis Abney, who calls himself a spiritual director, wrote on his website, "I once met a man who told me, 'Son, everybody is seeking something. We're just waiting for the right story.'" Isn't that interesting? Everybody is seeking something, the man said. We're just waiting for the right story. We at TV Church believe Jesus is the right story. How would I prove to you or to anyone that Jesus is the right story? In 1981, I was 22 years old, living in Caracas, Venezuela, and working with students. We had an outing to a bowling alley, and I ended up speaking with a young lady, a college student, who was not a follower of Jesus. I don't remember how we got started talking about it, but I remember saying that Jesus is the only way to God. She didn't believe me, but I was ready for that. And I quoted John 14:6, which quotes the words of Jesus. I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through me. I might have even had my little pocket New Testament and read it for her, but I know I quoted it. It was right there in the Bible in black and white. Jesus is the way, truth, and life. I smugly sat back. Checkmate, mic drop. I assumed her next words would be, well, then how do I become a Christian? But in actuality, she responded, I just don't believe that. I was stunned. I was naive enough to think I could just point it out in the Bible and people would accept it as truth. I know better now. Quoting the Bible just isn't enough for lots of people. I get that. And it's more true now than in 1981. So what is my proof that Jesus is the right story? Well, I can't prove it like some prove scientific matters, but I know lots of people whose very lives have been dramatically changed by their faith in Jesus. His power in their lives has been absolutely transformative. My father was one of those. 9 years before my birth, my dad was radically and eternally transformed. I've seen it many times. And it's hard to argue with those changed lives. If God has provided another means to Himself, that's His business. But I have to live by what I understand from Scripture and from what I have witnessed. Jesus is indeed the right story. To review, Jesus' followers have an opportunity and a responsibility to engage people in spiritual conversations with the hope that folks will consider becoming followers of Jesus themselves. People are indeed seeking spiritual answers, and we believe Jesus is the answer to people's deepest questions. In a few minutes, I'll be back to talk to those who are followers of Jesus about having these important conversations. And if you will give me the opportunity, I want to talk heart to heart with those of you who are not yet followers of Jesus.
"'Tis so sweet to trust in Jesus, just to take Him at His word, just to rest upon His promise, just to know thus saith the Lord. Jesus, Jesus, how I trust Him, how I've proved Him o'er and o'er. Jesus, Jesus, precious Jesus, oh, for grace to trust Him more. I'm so glad I learned to trust Him. Precious Jesus, Savior, friend, and I know that He is with me, will be with me to the end. Jesus, Jesus, how I trust Him, how I've proved Him o'er and o'er. Jesus, Jesus, precious Jesus, oh, for grace to trust Him more. Oh, how I trust Him. precious Jesus. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. And all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I will sing of the goodness of God. I will sing of the goodness of God. And Jesus, Jesus, how I trust Him, how I proved Him o'er and o'er. Jesus, Jesus, precious Jesus, oh, for grace to trust Him more.
A Limestone County couple is turning their trial into their testimony. It's estimated that at least 1 in 7 couples have trouble conceiving, and fertility treatments are expensive and not covered under most health insurance plans. Brianna and Caleb McConnell have started Foundation 117 to help couples with this expense. Brianna, this is your story. You and Caleb went through this, so you know what it's like.
Right. We started Foundation 117 to help local couples that are in need of fertility treatments. We've been there. We know how tough it is physically, emotionally, and financially.
And Foundation 117 is from James 117.
It is, yes.
Every good and perfect gift is from above. I love that.
Thank you.
And yours is a success story. Tell us about Win.
Yeah, so Win is our 1.5-year-old that Caleb and I struggled for about 4 years before we finally had him. We did all of the least invasive things first. We ended up doing 4 unsuccessful IUIs. I had a surgery. We had 2 egg retrievals, and then 1 embryo transfer that resulted in Win.
Oh, I'm so thankful for that.
Us too.
Well, Travis is talking today about stepping out of our comfort zone and reaching other people, sharing the love of Jesus. And this is, you're stepping out of your comfort zone to do this.
Absolutely. This is so out of my comfort zone. I'm quiet and reserved. Caleb is not that way. But he couldn't be here today, and so I'm glad to do this.
And tell us about the website where people can go if they want to donate to your foundation or apply to receive the grant.
Yeah, so our website is foundation117.org. There is a place there to donate if anyone feels led. We have a spot for our applications. They are not active just yet. We're in the fundraising phase right now. So we're in the middle of a t-shirt fundraiser. So we're hoping that with the funds that we receive from our shirts and then just other donations through the end of the year, that we'll be able to open up our applications come the first of the year.
And I love the t-shirt, Faith Over Fear. That's a reminder I need every day.
Yes, me too.
You've been traveling around sharing this news with people across Limestone County, Tennessee Valley. What's the response that you're getting?
We have been overwhelmed by the support. I was so nervous getting started, just because it's what you think is a small portion of people that deal with it. But there are so many people that deal with infertility either themselves or they have family members or friends that do. And so everybody can make a connection somewhere. And so we have been just blown away by how supportive we've been so far.
Well, thank you for starting this. When we're going through something, we feel like we're all alone in it. But then when you reach out and share it with other people, you realize that you share that same trial with so many other people.
Exactly, yeah. After we had Wynn, I started sharing little by little on Facebook just about our journey. And I would get messages constantly of people that were in the same boat and didn't realize that we had been through it. And so just getting our story out there, I feel like, is how this all came about. Once people were letting me know that they had the same needs, it finally clicked to me that this is what I'm supposed to do and here's how we can help. So that's how Foundation 117 came about.
Okay, we'll send people to your website to know more about Foundation 117.
Perfect.
Thank you, Brianna.
Thank you.
Today, I'm encouraging Jesus followers to have spiritual conversations with people who are not. If you are a follower of Jesus, let's talk a moment about how you and I can have helpful, healthy conversations about the rather touchy topic of religion. Let's talk about how to live intentionally toward people Jesus longs for. First, broaden your circle. If your circle includes only Christians, you need a larger circle. If your conversations include only Christians and people who agree with you on hot topics, you need larger conversations. Let's be friends of people Jesus longs for. Second, choose to care about people who don't share your convictions. Some of us have cold, hard hearts when it comes to people whose choices and beliefs differ from our own. Jesus, however, was called a friend of sinners by judgmental religious folks because Jesus often hung out with people the religious establishment found unacceptable. I'd rather be like Jesus, wouldn't you? Third, when given opportunities, broach the topic of faith and have genuine conversations. You don't have to be confrontational or preachy, but when opportunities arise, just ask someone a question about their faith background. Ask them what they think of church, maybe. Just begin a spiritual conversation. Fourth, trust God with the outcome without manipulating the conversation. Be content to see where the conversation goes without insisting on taking it to a predetermined conclusion. Batters in the big leagues are trying to hit pitches coming at them at almost 100 miles an hour. Do they try to place the ball? In theory, yes. And they're amazingly gifted at being able to swing a split second early or late and try to place the ball in right or left field, for example. But I understand that the real goal is just to make contact with the ball, put it in play, and hope it squeaks through for a hit. That's an imperfect analogy, but having a spiritual conversation is, well, it's like putting the ball in play. Don't manipulate the conversation. Go with it. Listen, trust God's Spirit to whisper truth into the hearts of people without feeling like you have to close some sort of deal. Just put the ball in play. This final segment is perhaps the most important. I want to speak heart to heart with the person who's not yet a follower of Jesus. First, thank you so much for watching TV Church. What an honor for our team that you would be part of our extended family through this program. Would you give me about 3 minutes for what I believe is the most important topic in the world? God has a plan, an intention for humanity. The Bible paints that picture in the Garden of Eden at the very beginning of the Bible. It was the perfect picture of wonderful human relationships with each other and with God Himself. But then something happened. Humans tried to play God, believing they knew better than their Creator. Evil entered the world, and now we have a problem. All of us. We all are born with an overwhelming tendency to do the wrong thing. We are thus what the Bible calls sinners, all of us, by nature and by choice. But there is a solution to our problem. It is Jesus. Soon at Christmas, we'll celebrate that God became a human, one of us, while still maintaining His divinity, His godness. Thus, Jesus was the God-man. He lived and loved like no other. His teachings and miracles demonstrated God's longing to restore the relationships so badly broken by humanity's bad decisions. And then Jesus died at the hands of Roman soldiers because He was considered a religious rabble-rouser. And here's the beautiful mystery of His death. Somehow Jesus' death made possible the forgiveness of our sins and life forever in His presence beyond our last breath on earth. Our ultimate hope is that although Jesus died on a Friday, He returned to life on a Sunday, and that's what we celebrate at Easter. And now the proverbial ball is in our court. We have to respond in faith with our lives, with all we have and all we are, to trust Jesus, to follow Him, His life and His teachings. This decision to follow Jesus makes a difference in how we live our lives. Joining Jesus in His mission to the world gives us meaning and purpose, and we work for the betterment of others' lives. And then there's the promise of heaven. Right where you are, you can make that decision. It's as simple as talking to God in your own words, expressing to Him what your heart is feeling. Soon you need to find a community of Christ followers. Maybe go to the website of churches near you and pray that God will help you find one where you will feel at home. Go there, introduce yourself to the pastor of the church, and tell the pastor you have come to learn more about what it means to follow Jesus. The choice is now yours. An ancient Chinese fable tells about a great and wise master who had insightful answers for just about any question. And then some wiseacre, know-it-all boys figured out a way to stump the master. One boy said, "We'll take a bird to the master. I'll hold the bird in my hand. When I ask him what I have in my hand, if he says a bird, I will ask whether it is alive or dead. If he says dead, I'll release it and prove him wrong. If he says it's alive, I will crush it and open my hand to show him a dead bird and also prove him wrong." It was an ingenious plan. So they went to the master, and the boy asked, "What do I have in my hand?" "A bird," said the master. "Is it alive or dead?" asked the boy. The master thought for a few moments and responded, "The answer, my son, is in your hands." And for each of us, the answer regarding the question of life here and forever, is in our hands. God has granted to us the freedom to choose. Our team here hopes and prays that you will choose life, that you will choose Jesus. Remember the man who said we're all seeking something, just waiting for the right story? Jesus is the right story.
We hope you're enjoying TV Church, and we have a request for you. Would you consider hosting a group of friends in your home to watch TV Church together? You could serve snacks or have people bring elements of a meal to eat together. You could gather and watch live at 10 a.m. Sunday mornings on Way TV, or you could record it on TV and watch it together anytime. You could watch together from your computer at tvchurch.online anytime. You don't have to be some kind of expert. You just need to like people. And on top of that, you can invite people you like. People you like who are not part of a church family. We at TV Church would provide you suggested discussion questions, so you could watch together, discuss what you've seen, and then maybe eat together. Or you could snack as you watch. There will be no obligation to First Baptist Church of Huntsville. We produce TV Church, but you don't have to be a part of us to host this in your home. This is just an effort to take the church with a capital C where people are. You could be a part of someone's significant, holistic, eternal transformation right there in your home. Would you be willing to consider being a host? Email Pastor Travis at travis@fbchsv.org. He will get you on the email list to receive discussion questions for the week. Would you consider that?
Ah! 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 Woo! Ah! Look at that.